Hey, MacDowin here. This last weekend, Hasbro held its second annual Pulse Con 2021. Second year that they've done this online convention, and I don't know if they'll do more in the future. They might if it's been successful or not. But I want to talk to you today about the first panel, first brand, early Saturday morning, G.I. Joe. I will just flat out tell you to begin with, I think this panel won the whole convention. They came out with guns blazing in a good way, guns blazing, a freight train worth of excitement, adventure, information. They started and they didn't stop. In fact, I think they ran over time. It was just wow. I watched the Marvel Legends, and I gotta say, that was not a great one. That was very slow. They would build a little bit of excitement, like here's a figure, and then we'd lose it for like 20 or 30 minutes. That excitement died. And I watched Transformers. Didn't seem to have this energy. It didn't seem to have this passion behind it. Was part of the Fortnite one. It was cool, but I didn't see this level. I think G.I. Joe panel won their convention this weekend. You can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. But they had some really great things, and I've got some pictures here, and I thought, let's discuss. Let's look at it. Let's discuss. I know you've seen these pictures probably everywhere by now. You may have watched the panel. This is just my take, my thoughts, and my opinions. That's all it is. So join me, if you will, as we look at this and discuss. Now, the first thing I'm going to point out, we have all known about this for quite some time. This isn't a big secret. The Master of Disguise, Zartan. We've been on the edge of our seats waiting for this thing to actually exit coming soon and be able to pre-order for how many months now? It's been multiple months, 2-3 months. I can't even remember now. But this has been a very exciting, much anticipated, at least by me, and I know there's other people who have been very anxious for it. You got this really cool packaging that opens up. You see all this stuff, and it's a new design Zartan. Not design, new colored Zartan. And he color changes, and some people are not real happy that he's a temperature color changer as opposed to the olden days sunlight temperature change. It doesn't really matter to me. He color changes. That's just a really cool gimmick. So one thing I'm actually really interested to find out, and I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but one thing I'm interested is, could he indirectly color change with sunlight? Because in the sunlight, you get heat. When clouds cover the sun, you get colder. That kind of is how it works. The sun provides your heat. So while the sunlight may not directly change his color, I'm curious if there's enough heat coming down from the sun that when you set him out in it, maybe not right away, but maybe after a few minutes, will he start to color change? When I get this figure, I'm going to find this out. I'm very anxious to find this out. Other people talk about, oh, we'll put him on a shelf and he'll be the indicator of how cold our house is. Okay, well, if you want a G.I. Joe thermostat or a thermometer, I suppose that's the way to go. I've heard other people say, well, we'll put him in the freezer, take him out, whatever. Dunk him in water, whatever. You know, it's a color change gimmick. A lot of people wanted it. This is how they did it. I'm down with it. Now, what's really cool is the speculation around that Storm Shadow head that was in here, which was foreshadowing something we'll talk about in a few minutes. But this dude is loaded. He's got a ton of stuff. And yes, this is version 2, or what I would call version 2 of the classified. And Zartan version 1 was a great figure. I liked him a lot. I still do. And I think I'm going to like this one just as much. I think this is a pretty cool action figure with a lot of nice gear. And I can't wait to try out some of the heads or the face masks. I can't wait to just look at him and see what he does. He looks cool. Now he's out of the way. Let's get to the new stuff. And yeah, this was the first thing that they talked about, but then after this figure, they just boom, boom, boomed. And the next thing they talked about was the Cobra Bat. The Cobra Bat that's based off of the version 1 way back in 1986. And it's really interesting because there's a rumor or an idea out there, it seems like I've read, where maybe this has been modified from another version. In fact, we'll flip over here. Oh, I didn't include the package art. Drat. On On the package art, the art looks different than this figure. And so there are people wondering, could this be a redesign of what they originally intended? I don't know. I like this. I would love to have the other version. The art looks really pretty cool. I'm not someone who is slavish to the original intricate, every tiny little detail. I don't need that on these bigger figures. I'll take them. I mean, they're cool. I'm just in it for G.I. Joe. I like this stuff. I enjoy it. And so I think this looks cool, but I would love to have some updated. I want new figures. And there's not a lot of people that were a fan of Akiko, for whether because they thought she was stupid or they wanted Jinx instead, or they thought, why put this figure in when we could get this figure? It's a new G.I. Joe character. I'm totally down with a new G.I. Joe character. I really like her. I think the figure is pretty good. So anyway, this bat with apparently dual removable hands or arms, and you can put the extension ons, that's pretty cool. A removable, it almost looks like this might be a translucent chest plate that opens up and closes, and maybe you can remove it from what I understand. He's got the battle damage head and a regular head. Pretty cool. I like these colors. And it's overall, it's a great design. It's a great look. It's a great update. Harkens back to that original. There's not very many people who could really sit down and look at this and say, I hate this figure. I think whether you're disappointed you're not getting a different version, I think most people will say, this is not bad. This is pretty good. And I'm in that camp. So yeah, if you want to have an army builder, get a bunch of these. You could recreate the first episode of Season 2 of the Sunbow series. If you get the Valaverse Sergeant Slaughter, it may not look exactly the same as Sunbow G.I. Joe, but you could get him and get like 5 or 6 or 20 of these bats and recreate that scene where he's wiping the floor with them, flinging them around and all that stuff. That could be cool. Matt Mylar. Mate, sorry. You got to do that with these figures. Get a bunch of bats, spend all your money, get that Sergeant Slaughter, make one of these, right? Just do that. All right, moving on. Then we get, okay, I'll be honest, most of these were not a secret. There was a lot of us that knew a lot of this stuff. Whether you believed it to be true, I believed it to be true based off of who broke the news. But whether you believed it or not, a lot of us knew some of these announcements. So Python Patrol was not a surprise. Wasn't a surprise at all. Tiger Force, not a surprise. Doesn't mean it's not fun. Doesn't mean it's not great and awesome and amazing, just so you know. So here we have the Python Patrol Viper, which we had the Viper not too long ago. I think Viper came out January 1 of this year. Okay, maybe it's been a while. I stood in line for that Viper and I got it. Oh, I'm never standing in line early at Target again. I don't believe I'm going to have to anymore. But that Viper was really cool. I picked it up. I don't like how the goggles don't really fit on the figure very well. You put them on and then they kind of like pop off or slide off. And you could glue it. You could do a number of things to get them to stay. I know there's a big discussion online. Why do Vipers even have goggles? They have a faceplate. What's the point? Okay, well, sure, what's the point? It looks cool. That's all it is. It looks cool, I think. So here we have the Python Patrol Viper, a pretty faithful update to the original Python Patrol. I loved Python Patrol. I liked Tiger Force. I liked them all. Night Force, Battle Force 2000, you name it. Slaughter's Marauders. It was pretty cool. So I like these colors. I liked the original colors pretty good. And so I think these colors are pretty cool with this Viper. I like how they've got the cross-hatching webbing look there. Or as I've learned, I learned at the last Final Joe Con, the fishnet stocking look. Because apparently that's how they made some of the original stuff, was he pulled out his wife's stockings and then sprayed over it or something like that. It was pretty good. I like this figure. I'm going to get one. I'm going to get him, yeah. I think it's a pretty good representation. I think it's a great look for the figure. Seems like there might be less accessories. I can't quite tell for sure. What would be really cool, a great little update to this figure, is if they made sure those goggles were affixed, or there was some sort of a peg and hole so they could hook in, not pop off, not slide off. That would be pretty cool. All right, and then we're moving on to a bat. But we just saw a bat. That's okay. This is Python Patrol bat. Wait a minute. There was never a Python Patrol bat? That's right. There was never a Python Patrol bat, at least in the original figures or the re-release Target. There was a whole bunch of Python Patrol random stuff throughout the early 2000s and so forth here and there with the club. So truthfully, I don't remember or know if there was a Python Patrol bat later. I don't remember that. I don't remember seeing one. So, but what a great way to reuse that mold. I'm all for Hasbro reusing molds as much as they can, as long as it legitimately works. As long as it's legit and it works well, and it doesn't look like a blowtorch from many years ago. We had a blowtorch that was like reused from multiple different characters, and I looked, I was like, man, that's blowtorch. I don't care if they reuse stuff as long as it looks like what they're trying to achieve. The bat we got to talk about here. The Python Patrol bat we really got to talk about. Okay, I've got to talk about it. I know some people love the look of it. I'm not in love. I don't like... The colors are not visually appealing to me. That's the best way I'll say it. The colors are just not visually appealing. It's like they've done a mashup of version 1 Python Patrol Deco and version 2 Python Patrol Deco. From the waist down, it's version 1. From the waist up, it's version 2. And I've been looking at this figure a lot. I keep looking at it. I was like, okay, what is wrong with this figure? Why do I look at this and I think that's not great? There's just something about it. And so this is my personal opinion about it. And I think what's missing is on the chest, you see the crosshatch, the netting look that version 2 Deco had. And all they did is like this reddish, dark maroonish, reddish top. They needed to do that crosshatch, I think, all over. I think it needed to be black, and the crosshatch, the stripes needed to be the red maroon. I think that would have helped a lot. I think the boots, instead of bright yellow, which I'm not opposed to that color, but I think they should have swapped the yellow and the black. Black boots with the yellow highlights, if they're going to go those colors. And really and truly just made the whole figure, the entire figure, either the light gray from Deco 1 or the red and black from Deco 2. Now, wouldn't this be cool to think about this for a second? If this figure was laid out with like all black and then had the maroon crosshatch stuff, the webbing, the lines, the stripes, with gold accents. Think about that for a minute. Go look at the version 2 Python Patrol Deco figures and think about this bat. That, I think, would have been a pretty good winner. But why did they step out? I think these two should have been pretty similar in Deco anyway, the Viper and the Bat. Maybe that's why they did the gray pants. I don't know. Now, backing out of this picture, the background is orange and gold and yellow, and it's those colors, and I don't think the figure looks that bad in this image here. But when you start looking at it kind of pulled out by itself, at least for me, it starts like there's something wrong with this figure, and I can't 100% put my finger on it. I just don't like those colors. I like the figure, I like the design. There's just something about those colors, but I still ultimately like it. It's just really low on that list. I'm going to be buying more version 1. I'm going to be buying more of these figures before I buy a bunch of these figures, unless I'm really lucky. We'll see. But that's it. Oh, here's the artwork that you can tell looks different than the actual action figure. So I would be very anxious to get a figure of this art sometime soon. And I think that happened with Cobra Commander. We got that light blue from Network, whatever it was called, or that app advertised the light blue. We were thinking of the dark blue. But if I remember right, looking back at the figure that I've got, or the box art, was the gold highlighted light colored one. And so I think that light blue to dark blue was a change because so many people said they didn't like that gold and they didn't like the way the line is going, so they did a repaint. And I'm wondering if they redesigned this figure, and it's taken a while to get this figure out because they did a redesign. And I'm wondering if Alley Viper's the same way. They've had to redesign it, rework it, and it's taken some time. I don't know. That's just thoughts. Then we get to what I would classify, the like amazing meat of this short presentation, where the amazing stuff shows up. The awesome, the great. Here we have Outback. Now, some of you may like, Tiger Force Outback, why in the world would they do that? Why not give us a regular Outback? Well, I agree, why not give us a regular Outback? But so many people complain about the Target exclusives being like the definitive character, like Baroness and Beachhead. They complained a lot about that. I'm not going to say you guys, because you guys, my viewers, wouldn't do that, right? No, I'm kidding. So I would say a Tiger Force is a logical step. We'll get Outback. They're not going to make this. This is an entirely new pinless joint mold. They're not going to make this figure and not reuse it. I guarantee you, we will get Outback at some point. I think this is actually a really cool figure. This is a okay, so I'm going to talk more about this later. I'm going to make a video about this figure at some point soon. But this Outback, to me, means something. It's something that's very important. We'll talk about later. So this Outback is actually Tiger Force from the UK, from England, London, whatever, from the UK. And we never got this Outback in the US. And there's a whole group of Tiger Force characters from over there in the UK that never made it over here. And this is really exciting. This is a neat thing. You know, there's several layers here of why this character is exciting. So I think he looks awesome. I look at this and I'm like, yeah, it's a good one. This is a good G.I. Joe action figure 6-inch. He may be 6.5 for all I know. He's in between the Duke size and the Roadblock size. So I'm really anxious. I think there's a lot to love and a lot to like about this figure. And we'll flip over to the packaging. You can see right there, you got the Tiger Force logo in the lower left corner. You can see all the stuff he comes with. There's a lot of gear in these Target exclusive figures, I would say. There's a lot of stuff. He's got a shovel, a flashlight, a knife, a handgun, a bigger gun, and all his web gear in a backpack. Dude, it's Outback. It's Outback. Stuart Outback Selkirk. Man. And you ready for the next one? It's Spirit. Now, I'm actually surprised we got a Spirit this early. I know 2022 is like year 3 of Classified. Saying it's early, I don't know. To me, this is still pretty early in the game. We're less than 50 figures, less than 100 figures. I'm a little surprised we got this figure, and I'm glad we did. I'm glad they figured out how to properly bring us this figure. Because, well, not to sound negative, but he'll be out and he'll be done, so to speak. And we'll have the figure, and then there won't be any concern about how do we do it properly. Because I've heard so much discussion online about, oh, they'll never bring Spirit out. They'll never bring him out because, you know, there's all these potential problems. Or yeah, they'll bring it out, but he'll be so different and so changed that nobody will like. I've heard so many different things about this character. Not just this one, but there's been several other characters as well. And the fact that we're going to get a Spirit is amazing. And he looks good. Yeah, they've changed a few things. But, you know, you step back, you look at this figure, and you just look at him for a minute, and you're like, damn, that's Spirit. Yeah. There's a few things from version 1. The belt, the fringe around his boots, first things I think of. I don't care that they're not there. I don't know if it's if it's a stereotypical wrong thinking to want them there, I really don't understand. I'll be honest. I don't know what fringe around the boots could be. I don't know how those could be offensive. I don't know how the belt could be offensive. I don't know. But looking back, it's nothing that I'm missing either. So I just think this is a good looking figure. Another thing is they changed him from being a tracker to a sniper. And I've heard several different thoughts on this. Like, well, they couldn't really use the word sniper back in the 80s for those kids' toys. And so that's why they didn't name him there. I just think has been used, it seems like, in such an amazing way through the comic books and through toys that it never really occurred to me that anything about him could be bad or wrong, like offensive. And it's not the eras that I grew up in or anything like that, because I always thought being a tracker was kick-ass. Like, this is a great character to have in G.I. Joe, because who does that? Besides, like, anybody could do that, but this dude can do it. It's not a problem that they changed it, but tracker, I did think, was a pretty cool ability, because not everyone goes and learns that stuff. So it doesn't bother me. They can change it whatever they want to. I think what they've got here, though, is the core of Spirit. And he looks like Spirit. And I'm happy we're getting a Spirit. I'll just do a quick little side note. I was never a kid who only played with certain figures because of the way they looked or the way, who they were supposed to represent. When I got my G.I. Joes out, they were all people. G.I. Joes were people to me. They were like my friends. It didn't matter what color they were, or if it was a male figure or a female figure. They were G.I. Joes. They all held equal time. Sure, we all had our favorites. There's these favorites that we probably took on every mission, but they were all G.I. Joes, and they were all equal. So, except for Cobra, we had to kick their butt. Cobra had to go away, so G.I. Joe had to kick every Cobra every time. Just how it was. Spirit. Anyway, so what's also cool is we get Freedom. Freedom is pretty good. So here's a couple things about Freedom. What's very neat is you can see Freedom's legs rotate down there. They move back and forth. It looks like they're on a like not a hinge, but just like some sort of a back and forth. Maybe it's a hinge. The wings are interchangeable, so you can have Freedom at rest, looking majestic, or you can have the flying Freedom. You can swap out those wings. Freedom is awesome. I like Freedom. This is a great bird. And then we get the package, and there you go. There's Spirit. I think Spirit may just be. It's really tough because there are 3 awesome figures that I would rank as tied for winning this panel. Excuse me, for winning these reveals. There's 3 figures. Outback is one, Spirit is another, and we haven't gotten to the 3rd one yet. But this is great. This is a good figure. I like this. There's not a lot wrong with this figure. People can say that, there's people out there who will say Hasbro can do no wrong. Hasbro can do wrong. Sure they can. They can put out junk. They can put out bad stuff, and they have. And there can be bad G.I. Joe stuff. There has been. But this weekend, there wasn't. Not really. Okay, B.A.T, Python Patrol B.A.T was probably that lower end. But I'm not going to just say everything about G.I. Joe is awesome. Generally, it's pretty good. I'm not going to say everything Hasbro does is awesome. They've done some stinkers. But generally, they're pretty good. Spirit's one. Let's move on. It's pretty great. The artwork's kind of cool, too. I'm not a fan of the style, but I love the colors. And I do like all the interesting little pieces. I don't know enough about, this kind of art, but, it's kind of neat to see, like, things, little designs added into it. Then we get classic Storm Shadow. I hope a lot of you are sure happy out there, because I've heard a lot of people say we want a classic Storm Shadow. I know Arctic Mission Storm Shadow was not your definition of classic. I liked that figure a lot because that was Ninja Force Storm Shadow, and I thought that was a great figure back in the 90s. And so I was pretty happy to get Arctic Mission Storm Shadow. In fact, my jaw dropped when they announced it or when it showed up. I was like, what? This early? They're going to put something like that out? That's amazing. That told me right there, nobody. Okay, let me phrase that. That told me at that point that any character from 1982 to 1994, everyone was open season for getting remade. And that gave me hope that a lot of characters and figures that we might not see again just might get released. So I was all down. I was so happy. I love Arctic Mission Storm Shadow. Yeah, he's a little loose and a little weak in the ab. I'll deal with it. I like that design. I like it a lot. So we get classic Storm Shadow. And he looks good. Don't get me wrong. He looks good. He has a really strange ab crunch, though. It looks like his upper portion is kind of like separate from his lower portion. He kind of looks weird, if you ask me. But generally, you know, there's some updates, there's some changes. I'm kind of disappointed that there has been such an outcry for this, or for classic figures or classic looks, that maybe we're getting shortchanged, and maybe there's a possibility we lost out on some maybe really cool updated figures. Because there's been some art going around of Storm Shadow, and I have no doubt in my mind that Storm Shadow classified art was going to be a figure. Maybe we still will get it one day. But I have no doubt that it took this long for Storm Shadow to come out because that was going to be the one, and they course changed. And now we may not get it, or not as soon. I don't know. But that was a really cool looking Storm Shadow. But what turned out to be a little bit, disappointing not getting that figure and maybe waiting this long to get this Storm Shadow, a really cool presentation happened back in the 80s when Sunbow was doing the G.I. Joe cartoon. I didn't really know Snake Eyes. I didn't really know who he was. He was just one of the characters in the cartoon. Spirit and Storm Shadow seemed to be at odds. It seemed like every time they came across, they were the rivals. So I grew up thinking Storm Shadow versus Spirit, they were the thing. And the fact that we got classic Storm Shadow revealed on the same day that we get classic Spirit, I guess, we got Spirit. To me, this is really awesome. It's like, oh wow, we got the real rivals, the cartoon rivals in one day. And that's pretty cool. I can't wait to get these so I can like do some displays of them fighting each other. Because yeah, they had some great scenes in the cartoon, and they were that until I discovered the comic book at issue number 121. They were deep in Ninja Force related stuff at that point. But when I discovered the comic, that's when I realized there was a Snake Eyes Storm Shadow thing. Anyway, I got a little bit from the action figures because like Ninja Force had Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. But anyway, so here is your updated classic Storm Shadow for everyone who is excited and happy about this. Sure, I'm happy. Sure, it's not going to be. This is not one of those top 3 figures that I think won the day, and it's a pretty cool looking classic white ninja with a cobra logo on the chest. He looks mean. Now, I will say one thing here, and that is he comes with a hood that goes over the head. What do you bet at some point we get Storm Shadow version 2, the urban camo Storm Shadow, the first Storm Shadow that was part of the G.I. Joe team, a repaint of this figure of that version. I bet we do at some point. I bet we do. All right, moving on, because there's a lot to cover, and I'm already running long. I'm sorry. There's a lot to talk about. This is fun. We get the Croc Master. Sorry. We get a Croc Master. How late in the line was this introduced? And we're getting not only Croc Master, but his newly named alligator, Fiona. That was kind of weird that they named the alligator, but okay. And down here, you can see 2 little babies, Diablo and Georgie. Diablo and Georgie. I don't remember which one is which. I have another picture here of them, or of the crocodile. Look at the articulation. We'll get to the figure in a minute. Look at the articulation on this crocodile. You have something around the head and under the arms and around the tail and the legs, and the tail is bendy so that you can bend it around. There's a lot of articulation. They didn't show it, I don't think, but they mentioned that the mouth is some sort of a spring that it like snaps shut. And if they showed it, I missed it. But there's a lot to like with just the alligator. The alligator I heard was like 12 inches long. It's like a foot long. It's huge, all stretched out. That's kind of neat. But Croc Master, he's one of the cooler villains, bad guys of Cobra. I've liked him a lot. Seeing this figure and this set, I'm getting more and more hopeful. And you're all going to laugh at me that we're going to get a raptor at some point. A raptor figure would be really cool. Maybe, okay, well, I'll talk about it later. I was going to say maybe not the cloth type wings, but maybe like some mechanical wings like Marvel's The Vulture has. You know, maybe they can really update him to have like some flying mechanism. I don't know. My voice is getting sore from talking. But anyway, Croc Master is really cool. I like the whip. He's got this little hook, you know, Croc Master Captain Hook or something. He's a great looking figure. And he's in a deluxe set just like Snake Eyes and Timber, which I still haven't gotten yet, but I will one day whenever it shows up at my doorstep. Croc Master and Fiona. So I'm wondering, we got Snake Eyes and Timber, supposedly this year, and Croc Master and Fiona will be coming next year. Is this something that's going to happen on a regular basis? Could we be getting, I mean, we got Spirit and Freedom coming next year. Are we going to get more animals? Mutt and Junkyard, Mutt and Junkyard, Law and Order, Wide Scope and Lamont. I mean, there's a bunch of options. Deep Six and Finback. I want a Deep Six and Finback. There's a bunch of people and animals. Spearheaded Max, Dusty and Sandstorm. We got a lot of options out there. And I hope we get more. Hydro Viper and Manta Ray, Undertow and Eel. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. They just keep popping up in my head. So, yeah, I'm down. I like this stuff. Now, I think this was it for classified. Yes, it was. So, and there's actually, I think, a package that has just been delivered. So, let me find, there we go. So, let's switch gears. Retro. Sorry about the coughing. So I think retro as we know it is gone. I think the Walmart retro collection is gone. I don't think we'll see it anymore. They didn't talk about it. They talked about these new O-ring G.I. Joe figures. And I find that really disappointing because they had just started doing some neat stuff. They needed to fine-tune it. They needed to refine it. There were some quality issues, in my opinion, with Stalker, Cobra Trooper, Grunt, Cobra Officer. But I think they were heading down a really great path. I know not everyone likes modern edition, modern era figures. But there's one thing a lot of us older, dare I say older? I don't feel older. Older collectors from the 80s and 90s. There is something a lot of us don't realize. And I'm going to throw this out there. There is an entire segment of G.I. Joe fans that grew up with the modern era action figures. There just is. That's a fact. That they didn't grow up with these O-ring figures. And so their versions, this is the pursuit of Cobra, Joe versus Valor, Valor versus Joe versus Cobra, Valor versus Venom Spy Troops, Pursuit of Cobra, Rise of Cobra, Retaliation, all these things. That was their G.I. Joe. And I really like the 4-inch modern era figures. I don't mind the old ones. I'm not in a hurry to go backwards. If they put out an O-ring figure, I'll get it because I do like the O-ring. I'm not so stuck in the past. I'm not so stuck on that. I really like the modern era figures. And they had just updated the modern era figures to be amazing, to be really good. I mean, they added a waist swivel. They added thigh cuts. They added things that just the articulation was about to be amazing. And I really hope that we haven't seen the last of them, but from the sound of it, I don't think we're going to get any of these new 4-inch modern era retro new figures in the next year. Just doesn't sound like it. I really hope I'm wrong. So O-ring figures. So they're starting a new line of O-ring action figures that will be essentially a Pulse exclusive. They said only available on Pulse. I'm guessing they did this because a lot of people have screamed for it. Maybe it's because 2022 is the 40th anniversary of G.I. Joe. Whatever the reason, they're doing O-ring figures again. Sure, that's cool. I don't have most of my O-ring figures anymore because for one reason or another, they're gone. We'll just call it a fire. So sure, I'd like to get all my O-ring figures back. Kind of expensive. I can't do it on eBay, so this works for me. And I'm pretty happy. Actually, I've never owned these two figures. The first two in the lineup are Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Big surprise. I never owned these, Commando Snake Eyes and version 1 Storm Shadow, so I'm pretty happy to get them. That'll be kind of cool to get them. They are, just kind of looking here for a minute, sorry. They mentioned how they've made a few changes, and there's a few changes more I wish they would have done, but they did what they did. And that is they softened the forearms. So the forearms are a little bit softer, PVC I think they said, so that the thumbs won't break. And maybe they'll last longer. They also did food grade silicone for the O-rings, so they will last much longer. I think they mentioned don't eat with them, whatever. So the O-rings shouldn't break as easily, or they shouldn't deteriorate as fast, which is fine by me. I don't need them to last 40 years at this point. Well, maybe I do. I think I need them to last maybe 40 or 50 years, maybe. And then I don't care. But they look good. I mean, when was the last time you saw a good version 1 Storm Shadow this white? I mean, it looks good. They do. They look good. The details are crisper. They're cleaner. Maybe we'll get an original 1982 set with all green shirts. That would be pretty cool. And here is the packaging. This is a kind of an overall box that both the carded figures, because they will be carded. I've been flipping around images. You saw things. So there we go. That's what the carded Snake Eyes looks like. That's what the carded Storm Shadow looks like. And I will point out that they put a real American hero back under the G.I. Joe logo. Why did they do that? I don't know. Is it because a lot of people complained about it for a while? Maybe. Is it because maybe when they were doing their Walmart exclusive retro figures that Walmart for some reason wouldn't take it that way? And so to make the figures more globally accepted, internationally accepted, they had to remove that. Maybe if it's on Pulse, they can put that back. I don't know. Lots of interesting things to discuss with others. Maybe one day we'll get some answers. But it's pretty nice. They have gone back to more of an original design where the plastic is kind of molded around the figure and the accessories, or they've got the separate figure bubble and the separate accessory bundle. Pretty cool. Yeah, they look a lot different. I'll be interested to know if the card back, because a lot of people complained that the cards for retro were not as thick, they weren't as sturdy as the old stuff. So I'll be interested to know, will these new ones be thicker and sturdier? I actually didn't have a lot of problems with retro cards. They felt fine to me. With swivel arm battle grip is only on Storm Shadow's card, not Snake Eyes. And then it's like in 5 other languages. I don't know about the global thing, but there's also no A Real American Hero on Storm Shadow. So we'll see. That's interesting. So those are back. The O-ring figures are back. And this is their first offering. It sounds like there's going to be more offerings. So maybe we'll get a bunch of O-rings. Then they'll go back to modern era retro in 2023. Or maybe by 2023, they're going to just like, forget it all. We don't want to deal with the fans. Forget the hassle. I don't know. Excuse me. But then they announced, and this is where we'll wrap things up, they announced something big. At least as far as I'm concerned, it's something big. It's something people have been, I don't know if people have been begging for this, or I've heard lots of talk like, well, why don't we get one? And that's HasLab. So they announced a G.I. Joe HasLab. Some people are not as thrilled. Some people are totally thrilled. I'm super thrilled. I want a Skystriker. I never had the original one, didn't get the other ones. For whatever reason, I wasn't able to get any Skystrikers. I had one from a garage sale. It was like $5 or $10 years and years ago. pretty much it was like a stripped car. It was a stripped Skystriker, no canopy, no seats, no really nothing, but it was a Skystriker, and I tried to love it. It eventually got thrown away because somebody looked at it and said, this is a broken toy, into the trash it goes. So it went to the trash. Sure, I could have bought one different times over the years, but it just never worked out. Oh, let me flip the picture. So we're getting a HasLab Skystriker with O-ring figures. And so right there, and this is all what you get in the initial funding. HasLab, for anyone who doesn't really know, is like, I'm not going to say, I hate using this word because people like using the word. It's a crowdfunding way for Hasbro to create something that they don't think will sell, or that they can't get a retailer to allot space for. There's several things. It's either like Walmart won't put it on the shelf, or they can't get it on, Hasbro can't get it onto a shelf. It's for things that probably can't go out on retail for any reason, for any possible reason that might fall under that umbrella. I'm fine with HasLabs. I think they're fine. I actually like being able to, if I'm going to pre-order something, I'd rather drop my money then and just sit back and wait for it to show up. I would rather do that than sit there for a year thinking, oh, I've got this big payment coming. Oh no, maybe I can't afford it when it shows up. I don't mind putting that money out and making sure I'll get it when it gets there. Especially if I don't have money at that point, I'm not going to do it. So HasLab's a whole nother discussion. I won't get into it right now. But anyway, a Skystriker is really pretty cool. It sounds like they've modified it. They've recreated it. Essentially all new tooling, all new molds, all new everything. And have like essentially rebuilt the Skystriker from the ground up. They went out and got official licensing, whether that was because of Top Gun potential or not. Apparently they have licensed the official airplane. That's pretty cool. They have, let's just flip it there. So this is what the mock-up of the packaging looks like. It looks like an old Skystriker packaging. It's pretty cool. I love this art. Don't you love this art? Just the G.I. Joe art. You know, go to 3djoes.com. Look at the art. The art is so cool. Here's a side plug that he does. I'm just saying, keep an eye out. Next year, 3D Joes is going to be putting out their large volume with all their art books put together in one book. So keep an eye out for that. And I'll be talking about that as I hear more and so forth. But keep an eye out for that. That's going to be really cool. This art is just... It's not art that takes me back. It's just good art. It's great painting. It's in that art, there's a story being told. They're flying a mission, and I want to know where they're going, why they have to go there, and who is Ace looking at? Who is Ace looking at? He's looking at somebody. He's looking at something or someone. They've fired some missiles. I want to know where those missiles are going. And why he's not looking at where they're going. Anyway, Combat Jet Skystriker comes with Ace and Lieutenant Wayne Ruthell. And I would have to look back on the original packaging. I've been hearing that Lieutenant Wayne Ruthell was on the original packaging. It was just a figure we never got. So that's really cool that they will be adding a figure we never got, if that's the case. It's so cool to look at. This is neat. I get caught up looking at these pictures. So what does the Skystriker come with? Well, they said it's coming with cloth parachutes. That's pretty neat. Looks like I don't know if they fold in and tuck into these seats, or it may tuck in there. I don't know. Or if it's just something you throw out if you want to throw it out. But that's pretty cool. And it comes with, okay, so it comes with these deck crew things. So like a little vehicle to carry missiles, and a little vehicle that might hook onto the other vehicle that will fuel the Skystriker. There's a render of Ace, pretty neat, and a render of Wayne. He actually has a bit of a original Joe look to his face. Then there's lots of accessories. There's all these various missiles, little clips, and wings. There is the decals. So I can't turn this sideways. Apparently you can decal this sucker up almost any which way you want to. There's like different sets of decals, and you can decorate your Skystriker the way you want to. Like, yeah, oh, there's Tomcat stickers. So yeah, they're the official licensed Tomcat and so forth. And this is like everything you get in the basic funding. The vehicle, the little, or the Skystriker, the little vehicles, the figures, all these blast effects. And this stand is really cool. I forgot to load up stretch goals, but I'll tell you about those. Anyway, the stand is pretty cool that you can put the Skystriker on the stand and it can like lean back and forth. It can go all these different directions. So you can make the Skystriker look like it's flying in a certain way. It's really pretty neat. They demonstrated it on the video. Then you get these blast effects that you can attach to the back of it. So you can make it look like it's flying away. And then these blast effects to make it look like the ejection, the seats are being ejected out. And a little, looks like an effect here for the guns. That's pretty cool. Ah, it went away. And there's another version of the go away. The blast effects shooting out the back end of the Skystriker. And that's the last picture, I think. So I think it's pretty good. It's $230 for basic funding for just the basic. So I mean, it depends on where you are financially, if that's a good thing. Some people get mad that it's that much because they just simply can't afford it and they still want it and they don't understand why it's that much. I'm not going to be able to sit here and tell you this is exactly why it's that much. I can have guesses why it's $230, but in the end, I don't know. And it comes down to, I believe that this is my personal opinion, and I believe that if this doesn't fund and go through, we probably will not see any kind of a G.I. Joe HasLab, if ever again, not for a long time. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll try something classified, but I guarantee you anything classified is going to cost more money than this. And if we want to potentially see HasLabs of things that maybe didn't exist, maybe some Cobra vehicles or G.I. Joe vehicles that never, ever were made. If you want that $1,200 classified USS flag, you know, the Skystriker needs to get funded. And last I saw, it's actually has 45 days, maybe 44 or 43. Last I saw, it's almost halfway there, I think. Now, there's some stretch goals with Scarlet. There's a Scarlet head in the Ace outfit. I think it's the Ace outfit. It looks like it to me. So it's Pilot Scarlet. There is what they call a pit crew, but I'm not sure what pit crew means because that has to do with race cars, where you get a couple figures. These are all O-ring figures. O-ring figures that are going to be a little the lights to wave down and direct the Skystrikers. And there's a third one. I can't remember right now what the third one is, but I may insert some pictures as I talk about this. But I think it's pretty cool that they're giving this a try. I think so. I'm going to back it. I'm going to help it along. I think it's pretty cool. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Don't feel bad. Don't make people feel bad if that's how they choose if that's what they want to buy into. Some people project. And I'm not saying that's everyone, but sometimes people tell other people, don't buy it, it's not worth it, because they also internally think that they want to, but they can't afford it. I better be careful. I don't want to get into too deep of a talk here, but just, you know, have some patience with your fellow fans and collectors. We're all in this, we're all in the community because we love something. We enjoy something. Don't make people feel bad. It's not worth it. We're not on this earth that long. So just, you know, have fun with what you can have fun with. I, at this point, know I will never own an entire vintage collection, and I'm okay with that. I would love to. I would love to have every single G.I. Joe item ever made from 1982 to now. I would love it. But I know the reality is it's not going to happen. And so I'm not going to go around and be negative to other people because I can't have that. It's just a realization. And if someone can get it, that's great. I'm glad. If someone has all that stuff that I would love, that's pretty cool that they were able to do that. So I'm just going to enjoy what I can enjoy because, truthfully, there is a lot of plastic junk coming out right now. And I almost can't keep up with it. You may yeah, there's just so much coming out in the few things that I'm enjoying right now. And so just enjoy it. I'm done. I think that's about it. Those are my thoughts, reactions, opinions on G.I. Joe panel for HasCon. Not HasCon, Hasbro Pulse Con. HasCon may or may not ever come back. I don't know. Pulse Con. So if you enjoyed this, please do me a favor, drop a thumbs up, share this video around if you find this helpful or found it. If you found it, I'm not that entertaining, I'll be honest. But if it was worth it, please share it around. And if you enjoy the content, I'm going to do more of this and figure reviews. So hit that subscribe button and you'll be notified of future videos. I appreciate you sticking around almost an hour later. There was a lot of stuff to talk about, and I went off on a few side tangents or sidetrack discussions. But anyway, thank you for sticking around. I'll see you in the next video.